Our introduction today, it's the Two Villagers podcast. Deepak, Sean coming from it. You need to check out the show The Gentleman, because I just like the fact that people are actually showing the English hierarchy for what they really are, which is just a bunch of criminals who ended up in charge. I mean, they were Vikings, they plundered and raped and stole, and they're still plundering, raping, and stealing. But it's pretty solid. I think I saw 3 episodes of it, and I went, okay, cheers. I'm in. Yeah, it's not a Peaky Blinders, but it's good.
With my 15 minutes of watching it, I realized that the only way he got into that position was because his family already owned that much land. And I was like, okay, fine. This is not like a rags to riches type story. This is just a dude who had everything.
Right. Yeah. So all he had to do was make it from third base to home, and he was already halfway there. So he just need to walk on in. Just walk. Yeah, it's I mean, think of, if you are aristocracy over there and you have 15,000 acres of land, nobody comes on it to check anything. So there was another movie done about the same thing a few years back with Matthew McConaughey. And so it must have actually been happening, which doesn't surprise me. Look, people grow weed everywhere. I mean, it's legal now, so it's no big deal, but evidently it's still illegal and being grown.
Oh, that's where I got this deja vu feeling, where I was like, I think I've seen this basement where they're growing weed before. And I was like, why? And then it's probably the Matthew McConaughey movie where I saw that.
So what you have to think about is nowadays they would have heat-seeking drones, and whatever they were doing to get the electric down there would show up. So it's not that simple.
Yeah.
But I won't lie, I knew people that bought old nuclear silos, like literally, and they go 10 stories down, and you can bring a semi-truck down there with working elevator. Yeah, and they did some nefarious stuff. They're completely underground. Yeah, and it was designed to not allow anybody to see anything you wouldn't want them to see. So, pretty crazy. So, dude, I drove all the way around western Oklahoma yesterday. I don't know if you know about this, but they had a bunch of wildfires up there. And man, I mean, thousands and thousands of acres just burned out. It was because the wind's hitting 60 miles an hour. You get a fire started in an area like that, and Lord, it'll look like California. So what's going on in your world? How hot is it over there? Because it's getting warm here. A little muggy.
It is like 94. I was actually going to tell you that I just noticed that I have to, the frequency of watering the plants is like way more often now.
Which is why you didn't have any water.
Yeah, see, so it's like a dual-edged sword. Sean, I do have all the water I possibly could use if I choose to.
Oh, the fish water. There you go. That's your backup. Right. Swamp water. Got swamp water. Wow.
No, but that's the weird thing. You remember, like a couple of years ago, I told you about that goat business where we bought a couple of goats, and they were letting me know that how difficult it was for them to find good foraging ground and water. And I was like, oh God. It's a very hands-on approach that I've used for the sole reason that if I see the goat, I'll probably name it and then I'll ruin the entire business.
Right. Yeah. You got to be able to sell it and process it, for lack of a better word. Hey, man, you ever want to move back to the U.S.? We moved to Detroit. Literally a third of the world's fresh water right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
what's going on with
still
you
just sitting.
Yes. I was going to say, what's going on with you and your world of chaos, as usual?
So here's the greatest thing in the entire world. The wonderful thing about living in Oklahoma is when you get this astronomical amount of press, like we have due to the school lunch debt that we're paying off in the name of my wife. No one cares. I mean, it's Oklahoma. They go, hey, man, saw you on the news. And that's about all they say. And you go, hey, thanks. Yeah, I'm getting a little much of it. And they go, whoo, yes, you are. And then that's it. So nobody's clamoring over you. Everybody kind of does want to stay a little bit to themselves. And I know I'm at 13 minutes of my 15 minutes of fame, big famous quote, everybody gets their 15 minutes. I thought I already had mine. But it is, what do you turn it into? That's the big thing. So, You got to be smart enough when you get your 15 minutes, what are you going to turn it into? So here's what my advice to people is. Have a book ready. If you're going to run for office and you're going to be the person who says stuff that other people won't say and everything, have a book ready. Because if somebody goes, oh man, you should have a book, and you go, oh, I do. For me, getting this kind of notoriety nationwide really doesn't mean anything, because I'm probably not even going to travel to the cities that was shown in any time in the near future. But what I do like is here in Oklahoma, it has mattered because it's made me appear to be a bigger player than I am. And what I mean by that is I'm the lone Democrat that's gone out to the rural areas and given something and didn't ask for anything in return. So I'm not there as a politician. I'm not there for any other reason. I'm there because I'm concerned about children. And my wife was concerned about children, and it opens up a whole different conversation. So I've had people call me to have sit downs, and one of them being a Catholic priest that I'm not a friend of me. I mean, he's really on the wrong side of history on something, and we've had some verbal go back and forth. But every time something bad happens with this Ryan Walters character or his group of octogenarians and septuagenarian thugs, this priest is there. The priest is there. But in true Machiavellian form, he has no dagger. But he's standing back looking like this. What does that tell you, Deepak? Who's in charge? That guy.
Collar and all, so that you know the uniform's on.
He even wears the 1950s version, the what most people would call a dress. That's not what it's called, folks. Don't write me. I don't need you to write me. I know what it is, but that's what most people call it.
I was going to say, Sean, don't make fun of his frock.
I'm going to leave that one there just so no more hate comes my way. So I said in Kit Fairchild and I's podcast, I go, look, I'll sit down with anybody and have coffee with him. Because if you're a true believer, I really do want to know what you believe in. Now, if you're just a nutcase radical, I'm not interested. But if you're a true believer, I really do want to know what you believe in. Doesn't mean I'm going to go along in the least bit. And he wrote me to sit down and have coffee.
Oh, wow. See?
Interesting. Right. So I would say not only has he been in the wrong place at the wrong time a whole bunch, with his position, he shouldn't be taking that kind of a side. But, you know, man, Catholic Church stands to make $300 or $400 million off of the superintendent. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
Right. And for a place where there's no new sources of income, their new source of income could be the schools. So, I sent you an article that somebody wrote last year, because I've always said, hey, this is where we need to look. Because it's the only thing that makes sense. The rest of it doesn't make any sense. And why is he hooked in with all these losers, lowlifes, liars, thieves, cheats, and thugs? It would not be the first time that has happened in the history. Hence, there wouldn't be so many Germans and Italians in South America after World War II.
If you look at it that way, Sean, it's if you go check most of the Vatican's gold, it probably has Nazi symbols on it.
You think so? I know. I didn't want to go there because I figured they'd take us off the air. But hey, man, I mean, they're a political force, whether people want to believe it or not. And they were very powerful in my family's life, and in Scotland and in France, and you know, not really in Ireland as much, but in the other countries that we invaded. Interesting. So one thing I would tell you is I think I sent you a deal from this guy from Good Morning America trying to get a hold of me, but not big time GMA, like GMA3. So it's like the ESPN The Ocho.
Hey, but he does mention in his message that it is Good Morning America 3, meaning the third hour. Yeah, it's not like it's a completely different channel altogether where it's showing kind of like the BBC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and someone's like, where are you right now? And we're like, BBC.
I'm on the Ocho.
There were times where we had to be like, yeah, it's just on the radio this week. We ran out of money.
Yeah. Well, I had a cool thing happen with, so Gannett is a company that owns a bunch of newspapers. So they did a deal. They've got a Instagram account called Humankind. And so I've got some video that will be playing or is playing on there, but I'm not hearing anything about it. Usually if it's hitting, you know, you hear about it. So I did a really amazing podcast. I want to tell people about this. THNK. THNK. And it's a guy out of Houston, Texas. So when you do your show, you're live on the radio in Houston, and then he's recording it for a podcast as well.
Oh, wow.
And this guy, yeah, he was a marathon runner and died for 7 minutes, and people gave him CPR and everything, kept him alive and all this stuff. And I think that's what got him to start this podcast. So and of course, I didn't do my homework, which is very unlike me before I went on a media deal, because I just didn't have time. And so in the middle of, we're having this phenomenal hour-long conversation, and it's quality. I mean, this guy's good. He's a defense attorney. So he knows how to ask questions, and he knows how to ask follow-ups, stuff that a lot of people in media just don't know how to do. Yeah. And finally he goes, our program is about thanking somebody. Do you have anybody you'd like to thank? Now, I want you to think about this, and any other listeners to think about this. If you're on a nationwide program, or, maybe 100,000 people eventually get to listen to it, or 30,000 or 50, who do you want to point out that you have in your life that you want to thank for something? And it can't be God, and it can't be your parents, because that's what everybody would say, except people that had parents and don't believe in God. But I did. Yes, I did go there.
That's a growing part of the population now.
Right. Hence why you need insurgents of cash. So I wasn't ready for the question. And, it's got to roll. So I was like, I'm going to go with Sister Rosarita, who was a lady that taught me in like 5th grade. And I ran into her in my 20s. And I know you've heard the story, but I'm going to tell it for everybody else. Yeah. So I'm in a pharmacy, and as a Catholic schoolboy, whenever you hear a nun speaking to you, you start tucking in your shirt because something bad's getting ready to happen. And she's evidently the next aisle over, and I hear Mr. Cummings, and I'm like, oh God, sister's here. And I'm tucking in my shirt, and she comes rolling all 5'1" of her around the corner. She's like, it's good to see you, Mr. Cummings, which, you can't tell whether it's good to see you or not because of the framing of the statement. And I go, thank you, sister. And she goes, well, I've been seeing a lot of you on the news lately. And I was like, oh. And she goes, I had you pegged for prison or greatness, and I'm glad you chose not to go to prison. Seriously.
I think that's, you're like, that's a compliment.
I think that was what's called a backhanded compliment, because they just bitch slapped you and then gave you a compliment. Yeah.
That's like,
now, you notice I did not say she's wrong. I just said it was a bitch slap.
Sean, this is more like the backhanded comment if I'm sorry you feel that way type thing.
Right. Or, hey, you're rather thin, yet pudgy.
See, my favorite thing to do to you, as you know, all the time, was where I would address people by name, and I'd be like, hey, nice to see you. Nice to see you. Sean, you're here.
But, that's brilliant, but I don't think most Americans pick up on that one. That's too subtle for most Americans. Oh, Sean, you're here. Oh, okay. It's, but so life is still pretty interesting. I think we're at about 6 weeks of interesting life. It should start calming down sometime soon. God knows, who knows when. But so I went between checks I wrote yesterday. Went through like $10,000 or $11,000 yesterday. So our account's dwindling, and if we don't get an influx of cash, this will kind of peter out. But what I am running into now is people have watched the media success of that and the monetary success of that. So they're trying to think of the next idea, and so you got to be real careful. So like, I can't endorse somebody on behalf of my wife unless I know for a fact she would have endorsed them, which is very few people. Yeah. And that's what I'm kind of running into now. But I did have a pretty cool one yesterday. This guy comes in, and he works for the ballet here. And he goes, we do a bunch of kids programs, and those are all run by donations. We don't charge the kids. And he goes, man, I tell you, I'd love to, be able to utilize some of your presence, I think was the word he used, which means money and talent, to be able to get more money in for those programs. Because I think that'd be stuff that Kathy, like I said, Oh, dude, we're probably in. Kathy used to teach little kids ballet when she was younger. You know, she took ballet herself, but then she taught little kids.
Mhm.
And I go, it's a natural fit. I said, but I'm too busy to plan anything like this for you right now. Get me next month. And I felt like an asshole saying that, but if I can't give you the time, I can't do it.
Is it something you're interested in doing or
Yeah.
working?
Yeah, I think it's a natural fit. What you have to figure out is how it works. And what I told him is and I don't mind if they hear any of this. It's the same thing I said to him. I said, I don't get to make those decisions. I have to bring my daughters down. We can look at everything and talk and go from there. There's no harm in that because you're not, I mean, you know, who doesn't want young people moving? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, I want them to eat and I'd like them to be able to move around. You know, it's those are pretty simple deals. So we're going to work on that at the beginning of next month. I wasn't blowing them off permanently. I just said, I can't do it right now. Beginning of next month. And we'll look at it. No, I thought it's a good match.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only downside to anything like this is I had political people say, if I send out a mailer, could I put on a QR code for her charity? And I go, no, that's an endorsement. And I can't do that to her. But you know, opportunism lives everywhere.
See, that's the thing, right? Like even on the girl who helps me edit these things out, she was asking me, should we put a link here? And I was like, I don't know.
Well, we can do it. It's our show. But if you're a third party,
the reason why I told her I don't know is because I was like, oh God, there are so many times that we get flagged for talking about X, Y, and Z. So I would rather you not.
And she would not talk about those things on air. I mean, that, you know, that's a valid point. I just am. You know, it's just a different level of stuff that we're dealing with rather than just, you know, coming in, open a pub every day and having a little bit of fun. I've got all this other weird stuff hanging on and it's okay. I hope people follow us through this whole thing. So if this is the first episode you listen to, it probably won't make any sense.
Yeah. Our advice is to go back and watch from episode 1.
Watch from 1.
To see the entire journey of this.
Yeah. So the THNK guy, I listened to his first podcast. I'm like, oh dear Lord, I know why this guy was doing it. Well, I fit in really well. You know, I'm a good storyteller, but that one was fun. I'd like you to listen to a couple of his deals. They really was interesting, his take on stuff. And being a criminal defense attorney and doing all this, bringing nice people on that have done nice things that want to, you know, thank people for it, I thought was pretty interesting.
I'm pretty sure it's something to do with balance.
Right. Maybe.
Kind of Sean, everything is a balancing act. You know that.
You might be right. I'm still making up for my teenage years, man. Woo! It's gonna take a while.
But can I tell you, like, it is so much fun to have like 5 different things going on beside what we both do as for a living. But a lot of people don't understand that there are times where you and I forget to eat and we're just wandering around doing like the 6 different things that we thought of doing. And then someone has to be like, have you eaten or you're going to pass out?
You start feeling really lightheaded and you don't know why. And you're like, maybe somebody's smoking weed around me. Or it's that I've only had sugar since 7 a.m. Here's another deal on that is, you know, because he literally like started my life in like out of high school and through. And I haven't talked about going to college because it doesn't matter anymore. You know, I'm 60. I got a killer ass resume if I needed to go get a job. Yeah. You know, I every trait I have that's excellent has a downside to it. You know, and now I'm smart enough to know that. And you go, yes, you need somebody to speak for you. I'm your guy, but be careful what you want me to say. Am I excellent at it? Yeah, but I can also go a little off the edge. And he said, you've had this really, really interesting life. And I go, I have been one of the fortunate people that if there's something I'm interested in, I go do it. And I don't do it 100%. I carve out some time and do it. And then how else do you move forward? I mean, I don't know. What the hell do you do at 61? I look in the mirror every time. I'm like, huh? Who's this old guy? But, you know, after I wake up and do some yoga, I feel probably as good as you do. Now, it goes away after I take a nap and I feel shitty again. But, you know, I I want to surround myself with people who want to do stuff. And that's why I do this with you. When you were here, I do stuff with you. I have no desire to sit at home and watch TV. That's watching somebody else live their dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know, watching sports, that's somebody else living their dream. Hell, I want to play. Am I good enough? No, but I still want to play.
Say, but one thing that I learned from you was, like, the other day someone was telling me about something they wanted to do, like try and start a business. And I was like, you should do it. And he was like, oh, no, but everybody else told me that it won't work, this, that, the other. And I was like, dude, as Sean always told me, the best views from the cheap seats. The people who do nothing, they have the most interesting advice.
Yeah. And in politics, the answer to that, like if you know somebody that wants to run for office, and thank you for quoting that properly. If they want to run for office, you go, everyone that tells you not to run for office thinks they're the expert on everything, but they're not doing anything. So I would rather have your less than expertise voice that gives a hoot than the expertise voice that doesn't do anything, or they're typing on the internet, and it could be this and this. So David Glover's got this quote, and it's, you know who knows the most about every election? And I go, who? And he goes, you. And I'm like, no, I don't. And he goes, no, I mean everybody. Anybody that wants to give you an opinion about an election, they think they're the expert. You should have done this. You could have done this. Could have, yeah. My thing is, so I own restaurants. I see regret. I know what regret looks like.
Oh, yeah.
And I know what an unchecked, unlived, what's the word that I'm looking for when you study your behavior through your life? There's an actual word for it. It's not coming to me. The unexamined life is a waste. Yeah. No, unexamined. I mean, if you haven't looked at your life and said, I could have done this, could have done this, could have done this, then stop and move forward. But you need to be looking back and see how your behavior is. And you know, I'm as bad as anybody. God, as a young person, I just took relationships for granted, not just female, male and female. I just wasn't a good friend, and I sure as fuck wasn't a good boyfriend.
Can I tell you, just recently, I was actually telling someone, I was like, in my teens and 20s, I must have been like an awesome friend to have around, but I was almost a non-existent son and non-existent brother. Whereas now in my 30s, I kind of am a non-existent friend, but then I do these things much better. And anybody calls me and it's like past 9 o'clock, I don't even bother like going out to see them.
You know, I've got to be up in 5 hours. I can't still be out in 5 hours. I have to be up in 5 hours. Yeah, but your mom and your sister are wonderful. And I said this in a meeting last night. You know, somebody wanted me to run for Democratic chair of Oklahoma. And I go, no, I did when I thought it could matter. And I said, I think it's over. I think that train has passed. And they go, yeah, but you could do this and this. And I go, look, man, I'm going to be 61 here pretty soon. And I just buried the healthiest person I know. Yeah. So I don't know how long I got. And I'm not wasting 2 years on shit that people don't want to do. And really, you know, if you ask me to do something and you want to change something to do it, I'm in. But if you just want to do the same old thing, I got stuff to do. I got stuff to do. And I was like, man, young people need to figure this stuff out. They don't like the way we're doing it. Come step up and go do it themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. But also the thing is that they might see possibilities in a future that we don't see correctly for the sole reason of what they're exposed to compared to what we were exposed to, type thing. And
just technology. Add technology into it. You're moving at nanospace. But the fact is, old people are the ones that still vote. So it doesn't matter how much technology you have. You've got to get out and knock on old people's doors. And that, so I mean, I agree. How do you fit that into the picture and still cover this old-fashioned thing? Because old people vote, young people do not vote. They have opinions. They don't vote. It sucks.
I just feel like walking past someone and knocking the phone out of their hand.
Well, if you could vote by phone, they vote. You know, but that's why we don't have voting by phone. And you could secure that easier than any other one.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to discount anybody from doing anything. Like, even if you wanted to run for office here, you are a brown person that could become governor here because of your accent. Because they would go, oh, he must be smarter than us. He sounds like the Queen's people. You know what I mean? It's so the doors that are ordinarily shut or semi-closed and everything to brown and black people, because there's a bunch of them, because of your BBC accent, you actually get to roll through and can do some stuff. But you remember Bobby Jindal, the guy that was the governor of Louisiana?
A weird guy.
Wasted an opportunity. Hey.
Sean, speaking about this accent thing, just recently I was on a call with a client who was in Germany, okay? And he spoke in a German-English accent.
Right.
Every time he said something, you would see like the white people on call look at my screen. And I'm like, dude, that's not my accent. This is how I sound. That is him. Look at the whitey who's not speaking English in the right accent.
Right. There you go. He's protesting because it's his cousins in charge of that country. He's not going for it. It is it's weird what opens where, you know. We have there's a guy named Jonathan Smalls here that's in charge of not OCPAC, people I usually fight with, but OCPA, Oklahoma Council on Public Affairs. And they're a charter school, you know, everybody's going after charter schools because that's where the money is. You know, it's one of those deals. And I have argued with this guy for 10 years. And whenever he gets frustrated, he'll call me a racist. And I'm like, that may be the case, but right here, that's not the case. I'm just arguing about schools. But when he loses, it's a real weird deal. But he has figured out his niche, you know, and he makes a lot of money off of his niche. He literally works out of a mansion 4 blocks from the Capitol. So he's done something better than me. Yeah, I work in an Irish pub, and I go down and yell at people, and he actually makes money at it. But they started a new thing like everybody counts or some BS like that, where it sounds like everybody's got a choice in something. It's all in the sales pitch, Deepak. Hey, so who are we going to have pitch our show? Since that was front page of the newspaper.
Yeah.
Have you thought of anybody? We got to have somebody pitch that show.
I thought you were going to get back to me instead. Who the hell we pitched
No, nobody's going to help me on that deal. You know that. We got to find a third party through you that will pitch the show.
Yeah.
If they think I'm involved, trust me, there are 500 very furious people with me out there with the amount of coverage we got.
So yeah, I'll tell you this thing, okay? A lot of people, I'll talk to a few people, but most people don't realize that a show like any show probably has like 50 to 60 unaccredited writers who are not even in the credit lines. They probably just changed a word, tweak something here, there, which is what I try to do at times, where we just pitch it to somebody and we fill in the blanks if they have trouble in doing it correctly.
Right. And so who are we going to be? Are we going to, we don't know. We shouldn't do that on air. We should come up with our fake name somewhere else.
Sean, these are pilots that we will have to work on. So hang on.
I really think the ego with the folks out there, we could get them to pick up the show because they would think we were talking about them rather than making fun of them.
Yeah.
I think that's a worthwhile gamble. So I'm trying to think if anything else is going on here. I am in my last 3 weeks of being an elected official for anybody who cares, which means there's like 3 people out there who care. And
what did I tell you the other day, Sean? We're like Marmite. Only a few people like it. The rest of them want to throw up every time they taste it.
Yeah, Australians came up with a couple of things where you're like, really? That sounded like a good idea? Just because you were in war in India and killed a bunch of people does not mean you know how to pickle things. Because, don't you think that was an attempt at pickling?
I think so.
Just a really terrible attempt. Right. Okay, so when does your weather change? Because I was talking to my compadre that wants to try. Actually, James was in last night asking me when I was going to India and had nothing but great things to say about your city. I said, I want to go out into the country, man. I don't want to be in a modern, nice city. And he goes, only part of it's that way. The rest of it's India, man. It's mayhem everywhere. And you want to just take it all in. And I go, not when it's 93 degrees. I don't. God, can you imagine how? Ooh,
there's probably like a 1 block radius where it is normal, after which you just
everything else is
chaos. Where half the times I used to stop James and be like, James, look in front and walk while you talk. Otherwise, you're going to walk into people. Don't keep looking at me. This is not Oklahoma. Right. You can't just look at each other and talk.
All right. Well, I was just figuring we're going to have to travel outside of the city. When does the weather drop?
So we'd have the monsoons. It'll be humid and all of that, which is why I told you guys October onwards till February would be the best time. So you guys have time.
Okay. October, we're generally not that busy here, so that would work. All right. That's probably going to be the plan. My brother is going to Argentina, where I've said I want to go move for a year. And he goes, why don't you meet me there? And the cheapest flight to Argentina, which is about a 4.5-hour flight. It's not even that bad. $1,400. It's the cheapest.
Can I tell you, that's the same thing I noticed the other day, where I was looking for a flight to, I think it was Bolivia. And it is almost like $2.5 grand. I was like,
right, that's insane. Yeah. So do you do Steve's List or whatever the deal is that gets you the so I used to be on it, and then I quit because I wasn't traveling anywhere. I need to sign back up for whatever. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but I think it's like Steve's List. And that's where I got all my good price stuff. So John, if you go to Bolivia, let me know. I would go there, but you know what they were known for.
I know.
I don't do that stuff. I haven't done any of that since the last millennium.
Like, it's gonna be hilarious this time when I have to re-enter the US and they're gonna look at different shit and be like, why did you go there? Knock it off.
Maybe you don't want to go to Peru, Bolivia, or Colombia with me. I don't get you flagged as much as the driver's license deal did. Inside joke, folks. Sorry.
Not bad.
All right. Oh, shit, you're good. All right, my homie. Friend, it's always good to see you. I hope life is good. Give your mother a kiss for me and your sister a big hug, okay?
Will do. All right.
And your sister, tell your sister I'm fine. Things are going okay. And this isn't British, John. This is really and truly the best outlet I did was doing this stuff for Kathy. And it gets me out of the house. I get to go see people and do something really wonderful, get back in my car and go home. You know, I don't know why other people have never thought of this. But there is other people picking up this shit all over the state now that are doing their cities and their towns and stuff. It's pretty cool.
It's nice. It really I shared something the other day about someone else doing something similar. Was that?
No, there's like 8 of them because people keep sending me snippets from Facebook posts saying, here's the debts, let's do this, this, and this. Yeah. So now what we need to do is as soon as the national press ends, and you can leave all this in the show, I don't care. As soon as the national press ends, let's start hitting politically how it should be hitting.